take in your hands. Nearly 3/4 of all players first chose to play as Rome at the game's release, and with 3 very distinct Empire Rome 2, set in 2, where you must decide whether to reunite a fragmented Roman Empire or burn it to the ground. For 100 years, the Goths have wandered, driven from the forests of Germania by Roman meddling. But at the edge of the Black Sea, they will be chased no further. The time has come for you to carve for the Goths a land of their own. You play as Canabaudes, known to the Romans as Caniva, the Knife, who 20 years earlier dared to cross into Roman Dacia and raid imperial lands. The Romans called him Barbarian, a man who would stand against them, a butcher of women and children. No city walls could hold him back, and their ferocity when the gates fell left the Goths with a reputation as looters and raiders, so that the Emperor Cassius himself brought his legions to stop them. But soon,
General! It may be beneath my dignity to say this, but God advance at speed! Enemy reinforcements approaching! Warriors on Christ! Marching order! Limitani! Scout Equitas! Quickly now! The enemy has been sighted! By your command! Quick march! Advance at speed! Quick march! Limitani! At speed! By your command! Melee cavalry! Advance at speed! Advance at speed! Move out! Double time! Spearmen at the ready! The enemy has found our concealed units! Quick march! Sagittarius! Warriors of Christ! At the double! As you command! Double time! Advance! Charge! Quick march! Limitani! Draw weapons! Limitani! Our general is being attacked! Keep him alive! Melee infantry ready! Palatina guards! Back! Back now! On me! At speed! As you command! Victory! Missile infantry at your command! Riders! Advance! Your orders? The double! Orders understood! At speed! Melee troops! Advance at speed! Shield wall! At the double! Commander! Orders! Yes, Commander! As you command! Sagittarius! Double time!
Advance at speed!
Scouts and witches! Advance! At the double! The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing! Heaven can wait! At the double!
Melee infantry! Double time! Spearmen ready for order! Understood!
March at speed! Obliterate them!
Understood! Kyrie! Black March!
Reaper! Take our enemies!
Advance at speed!
Break the lines!
Up at the double! Force to command!
Our men are rallying! They're not done yet! Competences! Loose! Back them down! Break them!
Awaiting orders!
Never can wait! Form up! Advance at speed! The enemy refusing! The enemy general is dead!
By your command! Attack! With weapons, dogs!
Cut them down!
Limitani! Orders understood!
Fire on the
Understood!
The glory! Our men of battle is turning in our favor! God speak good! Take our enemy!
Forward!
Palatina guards! Scout and witches! Sagittarius! Palatina guards!
All Romans learned to fear the name of the Goths. Conniva's skill in ambush is legendary. He is renowned as a terror of the night and can always choose to attack under the cover.
For the tribe! Your orders? Warriors all! Thirsty for battle! For the tribe! Warriors all! For the tribe!
Of darkness. A lesson this Roman learned too late, as he became the first emperor killed by barbarians. No others dared stand between a Goth and his spoils, and for 20 years Rome paid tribute to keep Caniva away. But an empire can't be built from Roman scraps, and the new Emperor Aurelian would deny you even these. What is the great conqueror of Goths fear from one old man? But he has never fought Canabaudes, king of the Goths. The time has come to reunite.
Warriors all! Your orders?
Unite the tribes, and remind Rome why they must always fear the knife of the Goths. Call the tribes of the Goths to your banner, the Grithungi, the Tervingi, the Typhali, to ride again at your side. Too long have you sit idle on your throne. You are a Germani, you are a Goth, you are Canabaudes, and you will not stop again until every Roman remembers your name. That's it for the heroic campaigns, but Empire Divided has 5 more.
tribe! Ready for orders! Move out! Warriors all! Getting on our way! We still have a wind! Going a port! Easy into port! To battle! On the move, lads! Thirsty for battle! Getting on our way! Stragglers will be left behind! Move out! Your next command. Kill them all! Ready for battle! Get moving! For the tribe! Thirsty for battle! Warriors all! Ready for battle! Getting on our way! For the tribe! Ready for orders! Ready for orders!
Sit, friend, and let us talk. A flapping tongue that speaks without wisdom is not welcome. I have talked to a wise woman and all. The gods will have me listen to you, but do not...
Warriors all!
Whoa! Yeah! Roll!
Retreat! Destination reached!
more factions. The
and just
Thirsty for battle! For the tribe! Death in battle? There is no finer ending! Ready for orders! Thirsty for battle! Ready for battle! Fight with us! It's a good life!
Greetings to you. I trust... We will gladly listen to your offers, but... We will gladly listen to your offers, but do not... Good and noble friend, what a...
yeah. So when they announced, we're not going to go through all these, but I'm going to show you that is. But we'll go with it. Outbreak risk and sanitation makes that squalor go away. I think every point of squalor is a % every turn. The other thing they introduced is banditry. Now, banditry is really interesting. If we go to the settlement preview, banditry at the top gives you a food export penalty of -12. That is very important. And then it gives you bandit events. And I think random bandits can show up, but I've only gone like 30 turns in, so it hasn't gotten that bad. Here we start off as Armenia. I want to give you a quick look at the strategic overview. Alright, this is faction ownership, diplomatic screen. Okay. This is our situation here. We have Palmyra to the south. We have the Roman situation to the north. Interesting. What is this faction? That's Numidia, and that's Rome. Okay, so Rome owns all that. And we have these... horsemen to the north. Romans to the west. To the east, we have these guys, and then Palmyra to the south. Palmyra dows you. Dow is like declaration of war, EU 4-term. Palmyra dows you in the first 3 turns. You start off at war with your neighboring faction. These guys are constantly looking for openings in which they will pounce. Kartli has attacked me. I've played many campaigns trying to figure out the opening moves, and Kartli just attacks the crap out of you. But they're extremely opportunistic. So if they see a good side stack here, they're not going to attack. Important thing to note also in the situation, your region wealth, you're not a very wealthy region out in the world right now. Let's see. I mean, you're not bad, but we're comparing to Arabia Magna. But you're not the greatest region in the world right now. It's okay. You don't really have any agents except for your spy. And the major problem that you have is that your initial units suck. I cannot emphasize that anymore. Suck. Beyond suckage. Suck. They're terrible. Your Eastern Spearmen don't even have hats. Alright? Let's look at these guys. Eastern Spearmen. The first thing we can get. This is from the #1 building, by the way. This is from the #1 recruitment building. Your Eastern Spearmen are so bad. They are such poor fighters that their leaders took them, put them in a bathrobe, gave them a straw shield and a pointy stick. Didn't even
has fallen. To the barricades! The enemy attacks! Enemy troops have reached the walls! They are trying to take out our general! Defend him! The men are losing faith! Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display. An entire unit has perished.
Even give him a hat and said, "Here, go fight." They are some of the most terrible. Remember Nordic Band in Attila that had like 5 melee attack? These are those guys. They suck. Next, you have Eastern Horse Skirmishers. They could be good, at some point in their lives. But their ammo is terrible. And their range is terrible. Then you have Persian skirmishers. Persian skirmishers, again, ammo terrible, range terrible. Actually not that bad, because they have
Warriors all! Ready for orders!
a decent missile damage. But that brings us to the same time. Okay, so it is turn 10, I believe. I wonder where you can tell that right off the bat, but I do know if you hit load, it shows turn 10, right? That was my Armenia playtest, and that was the last Rome 2 campaign I actually played, was the Parthia one. Anyways, so it is turn 10. I want to figure out what my plan is for the next 10 turns. What we've done is we've secured the public order situation here. Even though we're using the administrate to do it, the slaves are really high. We need to get those happiness buildings higher. And we need to expand out and take over all the Lydian territories. Our major concerns right now when it comes to international politics is the fact that where's ownership? Right. Palmyra is huge. Palmyra's at war with whatever remains of Egypt, and then is going to border Rome, and then it might go to war with Rome. and that's important. Rome has been completely kicked out of, well, Italy. And if Palmyra grows to this enormous size, it will be a huge concern for us.
Warriors all!
Because we will have to go to war with them eventually. The second thing we have to look at here is our diplomacy with our expansion opportunities. Our number one expansion opportunity is out here into Lydia. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 settlements here, and then this one settlement, so 7 settlements that we can take. I want to do the following here. Let's take a look at... nah, it's fine. So this is where my main army is right here. It will take... If I go into full force march mode... I can't do it this turn, actually. Oh, wait, no, I can. I can get him out this turn. Okay, so I can go here one... one turn. I can get there in 3 turns. Well, if I move from there, 1 turn, probably here 2 turns, and then I can get to there in 3 or 4 turns. And then I have a series of issues. There's this fortified army here, and there is the rebels in Amasea right here. Now, with the rebels in Amasea, they're just going to sit there. So I'm going to come back for this province. I'm going to push...
26, I live in San Francisco.
tribe! Moving out! Your next command? All hands to the oars! Hard on the oars! Fleet ready! For the tribe! Ready for orders! We need more ships! Warriors all! On the move, lads! We still have a wind! Set up the blockade! Yeah! Retreat! Our voyage is done! Fleet ready! Fleet ready! Beat the drums! Ready for orders! Thirsty for battle! Fight with us! It's a good life! Ready for orders! Are you ready to do your duty to the tribe? For the tribe! Moving out! Our voyage is done! Your orders? We need more ships!
We will gladly listen to your offers, but do not wrap them in lies. The spirits know truth. You honor us. There is food enough for two all. Welcome! We will talk and then we will feast until our guts... We have need of talk, I'm sure. But we also need good food, a warm fire, and warm women.
Yes! Warriors all! Ready for orders!
I welcome you, worthy speaker. I listen because your people are...
For the tribe! Fleet, ready!
Jupiter and Mars and all gods that raised the Roman Empire to ruler of the world, I invoke you and I pray, guard this prosperity, this peace, now and into the future.
In the year 14, prayers such as these were heard around the vast dominion ruled by Rome. For in that year the empire stood at a precipice. The Emperor Augustus had died. Augustus had been a towering figure. He had extinguished a century of civil war. He presided over 40 years of internal peace and prosperity. He forged the vision and power that cemented the empire together. But the peace of Augustus came at a price. By the end of his life, Augustus had eclipsed the Senate, ruled as a monarch, and founded a dynasty that was fraught with troubles. His heirs, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, these men would lead Rome through years of political terror, imperial madness, assassination, and through the distant founding of a new religion that would one day engulf the empire itself. The years to come would be years of trial, testing the endurance of subjects and citizens, soldiers and slaves, the men and women of the Roman Empire in the 1st century.
How miraculous. We can now sail to Spain in just 4 days, Gaul in 3 days, and we can reach Africa on the gentlest breeze overnight.
As the 1st century unfolded, ancient observers were awestruck by their shrinking world.
Incredibly, even Egypt is barely 7 days' journey.
We will talk and then...
For the empire that Augustus left behind was now more than a collection of conquered lands. It was a far-flung society of vibrant commerce and frequent travel.
To ease your throat.
By the year 14, the people of modern-day France, Turkey, Syria, Greece, Spain, and North Africa were all part of Rome. They contributed to its wealth and gained from its protection. But at Augustus's death, the family of Rome also included some troubling members. Egypt, conquered some 45 years earlier, remained an exotic land of disturbing power. Judea, added to a half-century before, was a tinderbox. And in Germany, local tribes resisted full subjugation. Then there was Britain. Once Julius Caesar had proudly claimed the island for Rome.
We will come for you.
But his claim did not hold, and at Augustus's death, Britain still lay tantalizingly beyond grasp. As he lay dying, Augustus assumed a philosophical air. "Did I play my part well in this comedy of life?" he asked. The answer was a resounding yes. The Senate declared Augustus a god, and as he passed into legend, he passed the torch of leadership to a man who had stood in the shadows for 50 years, his grown stepson, Tiberius. The years of waiting had come with wrenching sacrifice. Once Tiberius had been happily married, but he had been forced to divorce his wife and marry the emperor's daughter. Tiberius complied with Augustus's order, but his biographer reports that he was never the same.
Tiberius had loved his wife. After the divorce, he grieved that he had pushed her away and had great anguish in his soul. The one time he caught sight of her, he watched her with such strained and swollen eyes that an officer was assigned to keep her from his presence.
Despite his sacrifice, Tiberius had been spurned. Augustus only chose him after more favored heirs had died. And still, Tiberius's position was insecure, for the Senate was leery. Its members needed leadership, but hated monarchy, and many resented the turn to hereditary rule.
Tiberius was in an impossible situation. He did not expect to become emperor originally. He was not Augustus's first choice. He was not Augustus. He had not accomplished what Augustus had. So the negotiation of his role with regard to those who were his social peers was very difficult indeed.
The Senate chamber was tense as Augustus's will was read. Tiberius moved warily to claim his legacy, and he gave confusing signals. Would Tiberius assume full imperial powers, the senators asked. No, he responded. Which branch of government will you direct? One member called out. Tiberius was silent. How long will Rome remain headless? Shouted another.
Tiberius wanted power, all right. The excuse for behaving in the way he does is that that's how Augustus himself had done it. He's trying to be a good Augustus lookalike. Augustus came to power by refusing it. He feels he too must refuse. But somehow, subtly, oddly, he got the game wrong. He refused too much. He didn't convince anyone that his refusal was genuine, and he only caused resentment.
Ready for orders!
As Tiberius groped awkwardly to define his role, events outside Rome turned ominous. A message arrived from the provinces. 2 armies on the northern frontier were refusing orders. It started among the legions in modern-day Hungary and Austria, just 10 days' march from Rome. One disgruntled soldier voiced the bitter realities of army life, and mounting a rostrum made of dirt, he stoked the fires of resentment.
Old men are enduring 30 and 40 years of service. Many have even lost limbs. And discharge does not end it. They do the same work by a different name. And if by some chance one survives, he is dragged to the ends of the earth and given payment with a swampy marsh or sterile mountainside. By Hercules, life in the legions is brutal and unprofitable.
Gradually, the arguments struck home. Soldiers began showing their scars. Some looted. Officers were killed. And with words of defiance ringing in the air, mutiny gained momentum.
Why should you obey like slaves? When will you dare demand payback, if not with a new and wavering emperor?
It was Rome's worst nightmare, and it demanded attention from the imperial family. With the new emperor busy in Rome, another family member was sent to quell the rebellion. He was called Germanicus. He was young, charismatic, and loved by the soldiers as a man of the legions. His wife had even given birth in an army outpost, and the couple's 2-year-old son wore a tiny army uniform. Bootsy, the soldiers called him. In Latin, Caligula. The child was the darling of the Roman legions, their imperial mascot. When Germanicus and his family reached the mutinous camp, it was clear that more violence loomed. Their very lives were at risk. Germanicus consulted his advisors. He tearfully urged his wife to seek refuge with a nearby tribe. She agreed, leaving with little Caligula in her arms. Some years later, the historian Tacitus recorded the scene.
A wretched group of women marched away. The commander's wife, a refugee, clutching her small son to her breast, surrounded by the weeping wives of his comrades. The wailing was noticed by the soldiers, who came out of their tents. They felt shame and pity, and thought of her forefathers, and of her son, a child born and raised among the tents. They begged, they insisted that she come back.
Rebel unity was broken. Germanicus became a hero, and Caligula and his mother returned to camp.
Caligula, as a child in the middle of this mutiny, must have seen the importance of the loyalty of the army. And in fact, he had been the darling of the soldiers, and he could appreciate the loyalty that the army felt to the imperial family in Rome. And yet he also could see what would happen if the soldiers' expectations weren't met. They were not going to maintain the loyalty.
Army loyalty, Caligula saw, was the core of imperial strength. But events would offer Caligula another darker lesson. Popularity could be a dangerous thing. Just 5 years later, Caligula's father Germanicus lay dying, poisoned, it was believed, on orders from the emperor. Tiberius insisted he played no part in the death of Germanicus, but neither did he mourn, for he well knew that public favorites could be as threatening as army mutinies, and survival demanded brutal vigilance. Governing Rome, Tiberius mused, was like holding a wolf by the ears. That reality would stalk the imperial family for generations to come.
I must go and have a bath. Yes, it's time. I get myself some towels. I run and catch up with the others, and I say to one and all, how are you? Have a good bath. Have a good supper.
Young and old, rich and poor, men and women, every day in mid-afternoon, countless people around the empire ended their work and made their way to the baths.
Labor and worry be gone. I sing the baths, bejeweled with shining tiles.
Most bath complexes were large, congenial places where all classes mingled in one of the great unifying rituals of Roman life. They included outdoor areas for exercise, food stands for snacks, and noisy attendants who offered every sort of service.
I would die if silence were as necessary to study as they say. I live just above the bathhouse.
The philosopher Seneca found his local bath a mixed blessing.
Consider all the hateful